Welcome back, friends. I hope that your new year has begun as well as it could possibly begin. That doesn't mean that it has necessarily been easy. We know that, certainly globally speaking, but individually and at the familial level, I hope that you've been able to spend some time with those that you love, and perhaps even remembering those that are not with us anymore, but whom we continue to love and who continue to be a light in our lives. This last week, I preached from a text which serves as a reminder of those gospel bearers that came before us and who helped to cultivate within us that capacity for faith and love and the pursuit of a more just and peaceful world. I'm talking, of course, about Lois and Eunice, Timothy's grandmother and mother. The author of the letter, the second letter to Timothy that we have in the Christian scriptures, writes of their faith and how their faith was handed down and instilled within Timothy. And while Timothy may be experiencing a low, the letter kind of indicates that Timothy may be at a low spot in his life. The author reminds him that it can be reignited and rekindled, especially when he looks to the faith of Lois and Eunice. In my sermon, I extended that meditation for us to consider why we don't know more about Lois and Eunice. As we've already discussed in previous Sundays, some people's gospels and some people's testimonies are not heard as clearly as others are. And one of our commitments here at First St. Andrews United is to shine a light on those persons who have not been heard. They may have been trying to communicate with us, but we have not necessarily been attuned to their pleas, to their cries. And so we as a community of faith that is committed to following Jesus, the one who sought to listen and find those whose cries had not been heard, we want to do just that. And so whether it's Eunice and Lois, including the Eunice and Lois in your own life, or the person that lives in our community whose cries we have not heard because it's painful. It's difficult to sometimes turn our attention to those areas, especially when we would much rather just experience some simple joys and pleasures. And I suppose the difficult thing about being a person of faith is you have to find a way to do both, right? We are given reason to celebrate. There are so many beautiful things happening in our community. There are so many wonderful programs and new members and stories and gifts that are being shared. But there are also some terrible things happening in our world, and we have to find a way to hold both. To not say, don't talk about the bad things because I just want to think about the good things. Likewise, we can't say, oh, I just want to focus on this and never mind each person's need to be celebrated and encouraged and lifted up. And so I suspect as we go along and seek to have our own faith rekindled, as Timothy was having his rekindled in our text from this sermon, I suspect that we're going to continue to need these reminders about the tension in which we live as people of faith. But fear not, because it's not just us, it's not just this community or even the United Church of Canada. We are surrounded by and enveloped by a love, a strength, and a grace that surpasses our understanding and goes with us wherever we are being called to go. So trust in that, and I look forward to seeing you next week.